Buckle up, listeners, because today we're doing a deep dive on someone you all know, Elon Musk.
Oh, boy.
But here's the twist. We're not just looking at his, usual Wikipedia page. No.
Oh.
We're going international.
Ooh, I like it.
We're diving into excerpts from his Chinese Wikipedia page.
Fascinating.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like looking at a funhouse mirror image of the guy.
Uh-huh.
All the familiar features are there. The rockets, the electric cars, the tweets. But they're all a little, well, how do I put it, refracted.
Distorted.
Yeah, distorted. Like we see how a culture that's a major player on the world stage views this guy, warts and all.
And that's what I find so fascinating about these deep dives, using these alternative sources.
Yes, absolutely. It's all about context, baby.
Ah.
So let's jump right in. His Chinese Wikipedia page, it starts off pretty standard, born in Pretoria, South Africa, the usual.
Recall beginning.
Right. But then, and this is where it gets juicy, they highlight his parentage like nobody's business. Canadian mother, South African father, and they even mention his British and German heritage.
They're really emphasizing that global background, huh?
It's like they're saying, this guy who's disrupting industries left and right, well, he's a product of a global upbringing. Makes you think, right?
Yeah, it does.
Like maybe that early exposure to different cultures planted the seed for his globally ambitious projects later on.
SpaceX, Tesla, the whole shebang.
Precisely. I mean, come on, the guy's trying to colonize Mars.
Yeah.
Not exactly thinking small town, right?
No, not at all.
And speaking of not thinking small, this is where things get kind of real, kind of dark. The page dives into his family life, and they don't shy away from the tough stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, they mention his rocky relationship with his father, which, Musk himself has described as abusive.
It's pretty heavy stuff to put right there on the page, isn't it?
Right. It's not like a hit piece or anything, but it's definitely there acknowledged as a major part of his story.
So, do they speculate at all about how that might have shaped him?
They don't go into deep analysis, but it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It does.
Like, did those early struggles fuel his drive? Did he develop this I'll prove you wrong mentality?
I can see that.
It's like a classic hero's origin story almost.
The trials and tribulations.
Exactly. And speaking of trials and tribulations, get this, the page mentions how he sold his first computer game code at 12 years old.
12? Get out of here.
I know, right? 12 years old. I was busy trying to figure out how to use a VCR at that age.
Times have changed.
And this kid's out here coding and selling software. It's mind-blowing.
It really makes you wonder if that entrepreneurial spirit was always there, just waiting to explode.
Right. Like, was he born with a hustle gene or something?
Who knows? But it's impressive for sure.
So, okay, we've got this driven tech-savvy kid, right? What's next? Well, the page goes into his education, starting with Queen's University in Canada.
Makes sense. Canadian mother and all.
Exactly. But then he transfers to the University of Pennsylvania.
Okay, so he's on the move.
Always on the move. And
Oh.
get this, he graduates with not one, but 2 bachelor's degrees.
2? In what?
Economics and physics.
Wow, talk about a double threat.
I know, right? It's like he couldn't decide which field to conquer, so he chose both.
That's ambition right there.
Right. But hold on, because the story doesn't end there. He gets accepted to Stanford for a PhD. A PhD.
Prestige, the next logical step.
Right. But guess what he does?
He drops out, doesn't he?
You know it. 2 days into the program, he's out of there.
Wow, I can't even imagine having the guts to do that. What was going through his mind?
Well, picture this. It's 1995, the internet is exploding, and Musk sees an opportunity he can't pass up.
Ah, the dot-com boom, the wild west of the web.
Exactly. So instead of burying his head in textbooks, he co-founds his first company, Zip2, which was all about creating those online city guides for newspapers back when newspapers were still a thing.
Smart move, getting in on the ground floor of the digital revolution.
Right. He had that foresight to see where things were headed, and he wasn't afraid to take the leap.
So what happens with Zip2? Does it take off?
Oh, it takes off all right.
Yeah.
But we'll save that part of the story for after a quick break.
All right, I'm on the edge of my seat.
And take off. So the Zip2 eventually gets acquired by, drumroll please, Compaq.
Compaq, big player back in the day.
Huge. For a cool $300 million? Talk about a nice little return on investment for ditching that PhD, huh?
That's one way to look at it, I guess. But this is Elon Musk. We're talking about $300 million. That was just the warm-up act.
You got that right, because next up on his Chinese Wikipedia journey is X@com. Remember, this is the late 90s, way before online banking was even a thing.
Yeah, back when people were still afraid to type their credit card number into a website.
Exactly. But Musk, he saw the future, the potential of online financial services, and he went all in,
So he was basically trying to reinvent banking from his computer.
basically. And Max.com, it was this whole grand experiment.
Yeah.
But here's the twist. It didn't stay a solo act for long.
Oh, what happened? Did he sell it?
Not quite.
Right.
It merged with another company, Confinity, which, fun fact, was started by a few guys you might have heard of, Max Levchin and Peter Thiel.
Peter Thiel, as in the PayPal Thiel, the venture capitalist.
The one and only. Even back then, his name was like a golden ticket in Silicon Valley.
So Musk teams up with Thiel and they create.
Well, after the merger, the combined company shifts its focus to Confinity's main product, which was this little thing called PayPal.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me that PayPal, as in the online payment behemoth we know today, wasn't even Musk's original idea?
It's true. It was Confinity's baby, but Musk, he saw the potential, the sheer brilliance of it, and he became his biggest champion.
So he basically took someone else's good idea and made it great.
That's one way to put it. He's got a knack for recognizing a game changer when he sees one.
And then what? What happens to PayPal?
Oh, you know the story. eBay comes knocking with a giant bag of cash.
How giant are we talking?
$1.5 billion. Giant.
1.5 billion. That's enough to make anyone's head spin.
Right. This is where Musk cements his status as not just a tech visionary, but as a financial heavyweight, too.
So he's got money, he's got success. What's next?
What's next? Well, let's just say that Musk sets his sights on something a bit bigger than online payments. Yeah. He sets his sights on the stars.
Here we go. The SpaceX part of the story.
You know it. In its Chinese Wikipedia page, they absolutely eat this part up.
Really? They go all in on the space exploration angle.
They frame it as this audacious, almost heroic endeavor.
Makes sense. I mean, the guy's talking about colonizing Mars. That's the kind of stuff that captures the imagination.
Exactly. They emphasize how he founded SpaceX in 2002 with this grand vision of making humanity a multiplanetary species.
And he wasn't going to wait around for governments to get their act together, was he?
Nope. He went the private route, challenging the status quo, disrupting the space industry with his reusable rockets and his ambitious plans.
And they mention all that on his Chinese Wikipedia page.
Oh yeah, they highlight the successful launches, the NASA contracts, the whole shebang.
What about Starlink? Do they talk about that?
They do. They mention how it's providing internet access to remote areas, even conflict zones like Ukraine.
Interesting. So they're presenting it as a force for good then.
For the most part, yeah. But they also acknowledge the controversies surrounding it.
Controversies? What kind of controversies?
You know, the whole space debris issue, the concerns about light pollution from all those satellites.
Right. It's like a classic Musk move. Solve one problem, potentially create another.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But to be fair, they do acknowledge that he's trying to mitigate those issues too.
So it's a balanced perspective then?
For the most part, yeah. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, but it's not a smear campaign either.
Interesting. So we've covered space. What else is on the agenda?
Well, after conquering the final frontier, Musk sets his sights on something a little closer to home. Revolutionizing the auto industry with Tesla.
Okay, so time to dive into the world of electric cars and Twitter controversies.
You got it. And trust me, his Chinese Wikipedia page doesn't hold back on either of those. So first up, Tesla. Now, his Chinese Wikipedia page, it emphasizes how Musk was interested in electric vehicles way before Tesla was, Tesla.
Yeah, like it wasn't just some trendy investment for him.
Exactly. It was more like a long game, a vision of a future powered by sustainable energy.
Which is interesting because, let's be real, back then, electric cars weren't exactly sexy.
No, they were kind of seen as those little golf carts for eco-warriors.
Right. But Musk, he saw the potential, the inevitability of it all.
He's like that chess player who's thinking 10 moves ahead while everyone else is focused on the next pawn to push.
So they give him props for that vision.
They do. They highlight how he joined Tesla as an investor early on, became the product architect, and eventually the CEO, the whole shebang.
And the rest is history. Tesla's become a household name. Electric cars are everywhere.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing, was it? The page doesn't shy away from the, shall we say, more dramatic chapters of the Tesla saga.
Oh, you mean like the whole funding secured tweet debacle?
That's the one. They mentioned the SEC investigation, the fines, the whole 9 yards.
It's amazing how one tweet can cause so much chaos.
Right. And it's not just the tweets. They also touch on the criticism of his management style. The long hours, the high pressure, the whole work hard or get out mentality.
Yeah, he's got that reputation, doesn't he? Like a demanding but brilliant taskmaster.
Exactly. But, it's that intensity that seems to get results.
True enough. I mean, love him or hate him, you can't deny the guy's got a track record of delivering.
Okay, so we've got space travel, electric cars. What else could he possibly tackle? Well, hold on to your hats, folks, because his Chinese Wikipedia page then takes a sharp turn into the world of, well, everything else.
Everything else, like what?
We're talking Solar City, his solar energy company, which, spoiler alert, eventually merges with Tesla, creating this clean energy powerhouse.
Makes sense, kind of keeping it all in the family.
Right. But then there's Hyperloop, his vision for super-fast transportation in those vacuum-sealed tubes.
Oh yeah, like those pneumatic tubes they used to have at the bank.
Exactly. But on a much, much larger scale, we're talking hundreds of miles per hour, folks.
Talk about thinking big.
And then there's the Boring Company, which, as the name suggests, is all about digging tunnels.
Tunnels, like for cars.
For cars, for Hyperloop, for whatever you can imagine. It's Musk's answer to traffic congestion.
It's like he looked at all the problems in the world and said, hold my beer.
Pretty much. And his Chinese Wikipedia page, they eat it up.
Really? They're on board with all of it.
For the most part, yeah. They frame it as this no challenge too big mentality, this willingness to tackle the seemingly impossible.
Which, to be fair, is kind of his thing, isn't it?
It is. But then there's this other side to it, too. They acknowledge that some of his ideas are, well, a little out there.
But like maybe not grounded in, reality.
Exactly. They mention how he's been accused of overpromising, of announcing things before they're ready, which, he's kind of known for.
So they're not afraid to show that side of him, too.
No, they're pretty balanced, actually. They present the good with the bad, the successes with the, let's call them learning experiences.
Makes you wonder what they'll say about his next big venture.
Well, funny you should mention that because we haven't even gotten to the most mind-bending part of his Chinese Wikipedia page yet. OpenAI and Neuralink.
Oh boy, here we go. AI and brain-computer interfaces.
Buckle up because it's about to get weird.
Let's do it.
So OpenAI first. It's all about developing friendly AI, right? AI that's beneficial to humanity, not going to turn into Skynet and enslave us all.
Which, given all the sci-fi movies out there, seems like a good idea to prioritize.
Right. And the page, it frames OpenAI as this noble effort to steer AI development in a positive direction.
Okay, but there's got to be a but coming, right?
There's always a but with Musk. They mention the criticisms, too, the concerns about whether OpenAI is truly open, the skepticism about whether friendly AI is even possible.
Because even with the best intentions, AI is a Pandora's box.
Exactly. And then we get to Neuralink, which is like taking that AI Pandora's box and plugging it directly into our brains.
Brain-computer interfaces, that's some next-level stuff.
I know, right? It's like something straight out of the Matrix. They highlight the potential benefits, of course, like helping people with paralysis regain control of their limbs.
Wow. That would be incredible.
Right. But they also acknowledge the ethical concerns, the fear of the unknown, the whole "are we playing God here" question.
Yeah, when you start talking about messing with the human brain, things get real philosophical real fast.
No kidding. So, okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. From electric cars to space travel to brain chips. What's the overall takeaway from his Chinese Wikipedia page? How do they view Elon Musk?
It's interesting, isn't it? They acknowledge the controversies, the criticisms, but they also seem to admire his ambition, his drive, his willingness to push boundaries.
It's a mixed bag.
I'd say it's a nuanced portrait. They present him as a complex figure, flawed but fascinating, someone who's both a product of his upbringing and a force shaping the future.
It's like they're saying, yeah, he's kind of a lot, but he gets things done.
And that's what makes this deep dive so interesting, right? Getting that outside perspective, seeing how someone like Elon Musk is viewed through a different cultural lens.
It's a reminder that there's always more to the story than meets the eye.
And that even in a world that feels increasingly interconnected, different cultures are still going to have their own unique ways of seeing things.
So listeners, as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Elon Musk, we leave you with this. What do you think? Is he a visionary? A disruptor? A cautionary tale? Or maybe, just maybe, a little bit of all of the above?
Keep those questions coming, keep digging deeper, and we'll catch you next time for another deep dive into, well, who knows? The world's a pretty interesting place after all.
Until then, happy exploring.